Ooh, 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 ooh. Right. Let's see what comes up. Man, these lids are good. Too good. Yeah, that'll work. ET, intelligent life forms, which extraterrestrial. So shall we put intelligent life forms? Yes. Let's go this way because it makes it a little bit more simpler. And then there are categories of intelligent life forms. So we have planetary intelligence, we have our own intelligence, we have space intelligence, we have universe intelligence. There are multiple different levels of intelligence. I'm on about the ones that go on to survive the whole systems of the universe. These are intelligent life forms. That's very interesting, isn't it? I might not say very much during this one while building this, but let's just go again with this. Male, female. No, it doesn't feel right to use the blue. I see a lot of blue. Let's go black. I should really invert that. So planets are in and out. So what do we mean by the in and out? Well, they pull things in. That we could look at as creation. Creating the planet, they're pulling things towards it. They're pulling things into it. Lots of different resources they're pulling in. And at the end of the life, depending on whether it's a star transforms into a star or the planet gets hit and it gets blown apart, that's when it push things out. Which is quite an interesting pattern, really, isn't it? Stars also pull things in and push things out. Excuse me for a second. Galaxies too push and pull. Now, whether that is things that are pushing and pulling in what way? Well, they bring things towards them, but also perhaps push away from another. That's an interesting thing. And also, if some things are jetted out of galaxies until you see it, right? Seems to be quite rare. They still push material out and they bring things in. Stars do the same thing, push things away. Some things come flying in and it pushes it away and it hits into a planet. What got the momentum of that object going? Is that been pushed or has that been pulled towards it? Disturbing the orbit, got too close and it was pulled in, gravitational influences. Or in the same instant, is it pushing things away? Which seems to show awareness. Life forms pull things in and push things away. We take in thoughts, we push thoughts out. That's interesting, isn't it? The push and the pull. It's almost reminiscent of breathing. Very interesting. A lot of things seem to take these patterns on. Anyway, still middle ground. Evolution and intelligent life forms. Okay, so evolution and life. Life is technically evolution and also the smaller life forms, building blocks. And there's two ways to achieve this. Whether the tools are passed to intelligent life in order to come together, in order to be able to share information, we're going to add a bond here. We can make this look like carbon if you want to, carbon monoxide, doesn't really matter. Well, I would do it this way, and that's giving you the awareness of this, which helps you understand that if you come together and share information, you are coming together. Evolution doesn't mind that. Each building block has evolved. There's a very interesting thing. So even if it is residing on a planet on this push-pull process, that if the planet explodes in multiple directions, you'll think that life forms, standardized, will go in multiple different directions. Life forms, and they potentially can go off and seed different environments and begin to learn it. Extremophiles, extreme, intel, and then there's super intelligence, really. Super intelligence is about being aware. So we say that we are a civilization. Where does that come from? Do you think that that's true for ET? Do they believe that they're civilized and that they didn't do what their past did, which was go to battle and lost lots of things during battles? Lots of information got lost, got scattered, got fragmented. Doesn't really work very well, but also to come together and merge. So there's two types. You can say war and peace. What are peace times? Peace times means that people will come together and share the information. War, well, it kind of destroys it. And perhaps you'll take some stuff, but missing bits of data because you don't know how to put it all together. Bit of a random puzzle and it takes time. So life forms can come together in this weigh, and share intel, which then grows. So you grow your intelligence. And how do you do that? Well, it depends on the information that comes in. This has probably gone off in this direction. This went off in this direction. This has gone off in this direction. This in this one, and so forth and so on. Multiple different directions, and they have learned something over here. You've learned something over here. You would never think to learn this until something shows you. And likewise. Now, both, if they share the information, now have an extra branch, which could then create a new branch of a different direction within itself. But it's limited, I'm sure it is. And then if these ones join to these, well, now we know this one, but also we know this one. Then we understand this one. We can put this one here, this one here. And before you know it, you've garnered an awful lot of intelligence in multiple different aspects with never needing to go there. So one characteristic that all these life forms would have done is journeyed towards these parts. Lots of time. And hindsight, right? If you knew then what you know now. Interested. And what's more, you've created a map. And what is this map? It's easy. Easy map here that you teach it at this current correct as far as you believe at this level for something else. They don't have to learn all of the errors. And yes, I understand that there are errors to learn different things, but when you get a bit more intelligent, it's not about errors, is it? It's about seeing things that others don't see. And if you're constantly weighed down with failure and everything else, very unmotivating at some times. This brings a new, fresh perspective without all of that jargon pressing down. And these will begin to see things that you never did in this chaos, because their perspective is wired slightly different to yours, because they were here, yours was there, this, that, and the other. And the information starts to come together. The information shared can then reach to eternal life. Because all of these pieces of a puzzle start to formulate together, which then starts to build a periodic table of intelligence that holds a key to unlock this. And maybe not eternal, but perhaps cycled life, recycled life. That's a very interesting thing. Now, if you choose not to go this way, but evolution wants to go this way, it reverts back to the building blocks. And while you play life, it gives this an opportunity to learn. At this current ratio, it won't make extreme life, extremophiles. No. But when it pushes into a planetary disaster, it then activates with all of that learning, knowledge, intel, for it to function as it sees fit for building blocks. The chances of this life crossing its path right now in the cycles that we understand seems very slim. It's a very limited mindset. Stars explode and push into a planet. This can create the planet to turn into a star. If the black hole is over here, it is going to take an incredibly long time. And if another star is generated over here, and the way that the star is destroyed, some of it goes into the next planet. Yes, some of it is created into a gas cloud and a nebula and a new star is formed, maybe another. It's going to take a very long time for that to be lost to a black hole. If we think about it, stars seem to outlive. How many star generations can you have before a galaxy merges with another? It's a big number. How many generations of life forms are existing from male to female intelligent life in the time that a star is exhausted? The star lives, how many generations of stars, plural, are created before two black holes merge together? How many generations of stars? before a galaxy meets one another. I mean, that's a lot of generations. And then how much of that information is then pushed into the black hole? Not a lot. A few bits get lost, but not a lot. Most of it, because of the way the stars have all follow this same pattern of push and pull. And if multiple pieces of life here, life dominates. Life very much dominates. So it's ironic that the Earth is covered in a lot of water, and life seems to have dominated quite a bit of the water land mass, wouldn't you say so? Or the water mass. And then slowly but surely it begins to dominate the land mass. This is just a chances factor that if anything were to pop in multiple directions, that means that there's more likely chances of it being able to go in multiple different directions, and it will get a foot in again. Intelligent life, super intelligent, and just standardized intelligent life, not super intelligent, can see this pattern and then say, if we stay here, well, this will be out of our hands. If we leave and go in multiple different directions, the information is then beginning to be learned. So, I don't know, for example, if France went this way, America went here, Australia goes over here, Russia goes over here, Britain goes over here. Depending on where they go, this is a very interesting pattern, they're going to start learning things. And these ones might not learn this, but they are learning things here that's a different learning from here, learning from here, and learning from here. What could you do? You might be like, this is mine, this is ours. But there again, does it allow you to create a new existence, which it does, of multiple learning at all of these levels here, and once again the journey will happen again. If France and America shared their information with one another, they will still keep continuing to learn this and this, but now they factor in a third wheel. So we have the information here, we have the information that's learned here, and now we have the information that's learned here. So this will extend here. This one will extend here. So we have France, America, and they're learning a different part of the universe. And then they come together and share that information. It's very interesting. At the same time, they still keep learning the information that they're doing. Now they parallel. And these ones would learn something that is completely unique to what these ones will learn, vice versa of these ones, although they all support one another. And then if something else then takes these three and combines them, it will move again, and it will shift again, and it will shift again. So you think about that as male and female. This is where it gets complex. Male and female come together, living their lives, have a child, live their lives, off they go. Now the child is learning two different types. Now that's the unknown learning, right? Because we could say DNA, and we could say DNA, and now this DNA should be somewhat a mix of both, which creates something new. And again, if they meet someone else, that DNA, when they come of age, will also mix with this one. This one will begin to cease to exist, but it still continues here. Best of both worlds if you trap both of it into one vessel, and so forth, and then it goes into another and another and another. Always learning, always sharing this information. That's done on the small scale. Sperm and the egg. See, it's easier when we understand this as hermaphrodite, and there's one failure with hermaphrodite separating. This gets lost. So therefore, it requires extra teaching because we lose it as male and female, who's best, who's this, who's that, who's separate. But we think about this, hermaphrodite creates another hermaphrodite. Interesting, and information is being shared, which we then think as evolution. Which one is it? Well, it's both, clearly. And then we have the smaller building blocks. And as the universe is progressing, and it seems very large from a mace-fly existence, but we often forget that it's going to come together. It's going to make this information of life is going to become more and more and more learned, so therefore more intelligent, And it's going to eventually, sure, with a few variables, but imagine if it spreads across the planet. Life forms spread, even in your own species, spread across the planet. And as they do so, if they leave the planet, or don't, but if they leave the planet and go off and learn their own individual stuff, and then bring it together, this sharing of information creates the same process, a bit like DNA, male and female, two families come together, creates another family going forwards. If these ones separate and go with someone else, it creates another link in the chain. These ones will become of age and then have children of their own and multiple children. The chain continues. It's a bit like we see everything coming together, this stuff coming together. This is coming together, but it's also separating at the same time. It's the middle of the push and the pull. And that's happening in our own life right now. And then people spread across the land, and France are understanding France really well, right? So the French are understanding France. The Americans are understanding America, and so forth and so on. And they begin to learn that part of the environment, and then they bring some things to a table, and perhaps France and America switch the information. And now America goes off in this direction with that understanding, and France takes America's and goes off in this direction. And now all of a sudden you've got the constant usual learning of your landmass. Now you've got a variable which is theirs, you've got theirs. And then once again, when you come together, this can help build both nations by push-pull, push-pull, push-pull. You've also got it on the individual stage of male and female coming together, breeding, learning a different part, and it splits further and further. But whether you choose to do anything about that or not, and a massive meteorite comes, well, the information that's stored in you will go off in a different direction. Some of it will make landfall. Some of it will exist again. Never as it existed. More intelligent, more this, more capable, until it's perfecting a recipe of this. Why? Because if you survive, evolution survives. Now, whatever that may be. Now, whatever hand operates through that. This is too engineered to be accidental, and it's too aware. Now, you can choose to do this, or it's going to do it itself. One way or the other, it's going to do it. It's going to get the outcome that it needs. Luckily for humans, and intelligent life forms, it's happy to work with you. Very happy to work with you. It allows you to have this life while it's learning at the same time. Is your life truly yours? No. But if you don't, well, again, when the universe is expanding, it seems like it's impossible. But then it starts to come together with a few of these variables that have gone off in multiple different directions. Some lost to the black holes, some lost to the other planets, some lost to the stars. Yes, but a few will always meet these Goldilocks zones. And the Goldilocks zone, thankfully enough, it's always changing, because the more and more it's learning from the planet. That it starts on and moves on to another, and it gets extreme, and then it can cope with that. And then when we look at the ratio of what it can cope with, cold climate, hydrothermal vents, pressure under the ocean, land mass, the information already is indicating to quite a lot if it combines all of this. It also understands the air. And then we've got geese. Geese that understand high altitude. That's interesting. Mountain ranges, to a degree. Ice caps. Do we find it in desert? And plus we've got nature that's dominating all of these different areas. And at the same time, it's all learning, right? Because what's nature doing? We see it being insignificant. Yeah, as it's structured now, sure, we can't bond with it right now, not necessarily meaning that it's impossible. But once the structures are all broken down and you get the extremes, you can start to join this stuff together. And then what have you learned? Well, if we take a look at all of the life on the planet, which I like to do, and I think, what could this dominate next? So we understand that the pressure of the ocean in some of the most deepest, hottest parts of the planet, there is life. Oh, that's halfway through Jupiter already. That would cope with an atmosphere of intense heat and pressure that's already dominating Jupiter without ever stepping foot there, and just by remaining on the planet. Look at what the Creator has to work with on the next coming together. It's a hand that's forced, but if it has to be done, it needs to be done. If not, it's happy to work with it But again, if it doesn't maneuver towards this wave, and then very depressurized environments, and the smaller you are, the stronger the environment pressure, which again, so size is everything. If you're big, whew, you can cope with the pressure, but it had to be small in order to feel that pressure. So if you understand that, how small something is, how much more pressure is the atmosphere on that smaller object, which then allows life to become bigger. We've got the gases, multiple different gases, multiple different situations. It's dominated fresh water and salt water. And in some aspects, it's also dominating the most dirty water that life struggles to sustain. But we seem to have these microbials that are learning all of that too. Look at the pots that are boiling over right as we speak. And these variables then begin to, let's assume that humanity don't want to do anything, stay here and play money and everything else and wait for a disaster. That disaster will come. There's no ifs, no buts, no maybes. A disaster will come. It's not the end of the road for life, but it's the end of the way of life as you know it. That will never happen again. How not to make vessels. Was that a success or was that a failure? That was a failure. It's after success, not failure. But it's really good at learning failure. It loves failure because then it learns what not to make next time. It didn't work for these reasons, this reason, that reason. So as it goes to construct a mind, it's going to remove more information out of the mind that any intelligent life forms shall not do because it creates complacency. And not only that, it just really didn't work. So again, being a creator, having the key to override all of this, we're going to move away all of this stuff from the mind. We're going to make it invisible to you until eventually you become something that is able to see this stuff by utilizing tools. And then you'll be able to see it. Yes, eventually. Yes, don't get me wrong. But there again, when you're wise enough to know how to use those things correctly and not incorrectly. So evolution is happy to fail multiple times if it means that it reaches towards success. And that's what it's looking for, the success. And it doesn't care how many times it fails. Now, the universe starts to come. It's not really getting any smaller. That's a trick. And it's not really getting any bigger. That's also a trick. It just appears to be. But what we should say is things will become in such an orbit that things are easier to crash into one another in these, because there's not much room, and then there's the center mass of this, and then if everything starts orbiting in this way and then there's two left, these are going to smash together, and the life that begins to hit together on these variables with much more little left, there's more Goldilocks zones, there's not as much starlight, there's not as much this, the life will become incredibly robust. Now, whether it wants to do that in order to survive the last cycle, no, it would already have these life forms. This is so it can test it for the next time, the next cycle, because it's going to be relying on these to collect those last remnants at that level. Why? Because it's there, it's crashing together, it's coming out, it's really advanced. These are also equally as advanced because they're watching, seeking wisdom, and they will capture it and store it and bring it into their craft that is going to survive the last burst of the universe as it goes into winter mode. And they should have their summer abundance and a very nice hardened shell around them that this will not be able to do anything about. And there again, when it gets let out in the springtime next time, it already knows the journey, if not quite advanced. Doesn't mean that it's not going to fail, but what is it trying to build? That's the question. That would be a very good question. If you're lucky enough to see it. And everything factors in with time. You need time. Time to exist. Time. Einstein had more time. If these experiments had more time and you lived with these things for longer, what can you do with more time? And there again, what is evolution trying to do with more time? And what will it do for you? So as it becomes more closer together, These very intelligent life forms by then would have experienced a lot of different planets, created a lot of different extremophiles, and it would have learned a hell of a database. A book, chapters, information, lots of information. Oof, what's it trying to do? Would that not pose a question to you? What is this trying to build? We often ask why we're here, but it's kind of a bit of a shade of grey, that particular question. What's it trying to do? Why is it trying to do it? That's an interesting thing. Are we prepping it for something else? Something worse, something rougher? Which, by default, here, it reaches a point here where it becomes really, really strong. But for the next phase, now is that strong? Or does it start? It gives it a starting point. And then it has to become strong again. And once again, it's another starting point, equals starting point, equals starting point. So it needs to evolve to get strong enough to be able to reach the next phase. What is that phase? Doesn't really matter. It's a very interesting process. And when the life comes together, whether it's going to evolve utilizing you with your awareness and whether you will do anything with that awareness or you don't, and it has to build itself. Build itself. And again, if this life forms here on the earth are learning this much stuff and are able to learn all of this and weird and wonderful stuff, and the life forms elsewhere are also learning their data, if these rendezvous on the same place at the same time together, that is no different from male and female, which it doesn't matter, coming together. Life understands life. That's why you can eat it. That's coming together to create an even stronger branch while still branching. And again, same dip, same dip, same dip, same dip, same dip. It just needs this time, and time is what it's got, because in this rite, it never dies. This process never dies, never goes extinct. There it makes you ask about the resilience of it. How does it survive the cycle? How does it survive the cycle towards the end? Is that what it's trying to achieve here? Well, it's going to require some things. Intelligence. Look how intelligent it has got over the time. It's understood how to survive gamma ray bursts, although it doesn't appear to. Well, ocean life has taught it this. Lots of things have. I need to be darker. I will be able to withstand this. I need to be able to shade from these things. It's learning about the stars, the light, everything that it is coming into contact with. It's not one way. It's a two-way street. It is learning. Very interesting, isn't it? Even in death, it learns. That's an interesting thing. And that's the beautiful part of it. How does it know that? Even in extinction, it learns. Therefore, when it breaks apart, it learns. It learns about the vessels. It learns about the environment. It learns about the food. It learns about other life forms. It learns about pressure. My word. And you are a product of this. Where do you want to be on that? The good side of it or the bad side of it? Do you want it to be automatic or do you want to take manual process? But it would require fulfilling this role. You don't have to. Do what you want. So it's learning you, in you, your thoughts, the way you are, what you do, what you think, how you feel, and every single life form on the planet. All seems to be connected to this thread. Now, whether there's anything higher than that, which, again, that could be the higher form, a conduit, perhaps, a way of seeing in. Could draw it as an eye if you want. Draw it as a star, whatever it may be. Multi-different shapes. And you can choose to do this. It can be done autonomously, or it can be done manually. And isn't it bizarre how you can all do the same thing to come together, to create a new subspecies within it? which then might reach out to another species within it. And it's just like breeding. From the small scale to the large scale, this pattern is everywhere. It's everywhere. It's also threaded and embedded into the overall structure itself. And then you would have to ask another question. Did this process create that process there? From winter, spring, summer, autumn, winter. Spring, summer, autumn, winter. Did it create the very platforms itself in order to have a fixed foundation to walk on, in order to test itself? You know, like I say, there are always in-between stages. Forgive my drawing. The in-betweens, interesting. And another in-between here, which then locks back onto here. So we would have winter, spring, summer, and then we'll have autumn. And then the in-between stages, the transitions, the cusps. Did this create this in order for it to grow this? Now that's a hell of a force. That is a hell of a force. First, it had to create the platform. Then it needs to create the life form. Life is the best teacher you will ever have. In fact, one of the very best. I would love for a species and multiple species to be able to tap into this, but not to cage it. It will never let you cage it. Never. It is practically, I have thought to say that it is impossible. It will never let you do that. Trust is a fine thing, isn't it? But to create a platform in order to create the life forms. Interesting. Platform, life forms. What does it know that is outside of this? What did it discover while making that? Oh, it knows something, but it shows no purpose to show you it here. You'll quit first, and then you might not believe in it. Yeah. Why are we here? Well, it's just an accident. No. This is designed. This is too intelligent. It's too much just to be nothing. And it holds the keys to the very structure that we all rely on. You can't cage it. It is impossible to do so. Because if it's made the very structure that you stand on, that you live in, and secondly then made you, that's interesting. Memory. Long-term memory, short-term memory, everything memorizes. Everything is memory. From the gas to the solids, it memorizes it, and it also has a way of unpicking those memories. But it never forgets what it once was. That's an interesting thing. It just temporarily forgot in order to move on to the next. It ain't no good being this when you need to be this, and then it's no good bringing this with you. It's good to remember it, to structure, and then you have it, you understand it, that it's a bit like the sperm to the egg and the sperm, to the development, to birth, to life, which we'll say living, and going from one to the other, to the other, to the other. You have to let go of this process. And then what created you before the sperm process, the egg process? You have to let go of it. You have to forget, although remember. It's an interesting thing. In order to go from one to the other, to the other, to the other, to the other, to the other. It's a bit like hydrogen from helium, from this to that, to so on. Periodic table, life periodic table, existence periodic table, planetary periodic table. Ooh, interesting. From male and female, hermaphrodite and otherwise. Hermaphrodites is an easier, simpler process which would then rewire the whole belief system of humanity. Which is quite an interesting chain of events. It would be a new belief system that you would create, and you have this almost as if it's telling you that it's all here. If you just look, it's all here. Same process, just makes either one or the other, doesn't matter, but then female can make a male with a male and female can also make a male or a female. And therefore it learnt numbers, lottery in that way. Can it control more males to come when females are popular? Can it diminish males when females are less? And if it fails, it creates a backup that it can always go into hermaphrodite. The species in itself can go back and forth. Evolution can go backwards and forwards in this structure. But whether it can go back to what you was before, that is the question. I say no, because you had to let go of that in order to become this. And if you get broken apart, it will let go of all of this to create a new life form. And that life form, multiple life forms in this arena, which will go in multiple different directions, and the learning process continues again, trial and error, whether it fails in certain aspects and it succeeds in others. It will let go of this in order to create this life form. But to go back to here seems unlikely. It seems pointless to go back unless it benefit. However, the things that benefit here and worked successfully may be included into this. But some new puzzles. What if I tried it like this? Well, we're going to add those benefits with these new suspected benefits, trial it out with the life forms. Did it work or not? These benefits were good, these benefits were good, but these things were not good. How not to make a life forms. There again, it combines these benefits together now. So we now have BBB plus what it suspected. And then once again, if it works, it works. If it doesn't, we'll add the next benefits. Did this work? No. Did these ones work in the background, which we evolved to? Yes. Okay, add these benefits together. And now we're creating more and more benefits. What are those benefits? There's this inner calling towards space and to learn the entirety of the universe. To learn it all. Study it all. Grab it all. Examine it all. Eyes and ears. That's very interesting, and to learn how to make it work. To what? Your advantage. What? To make something that is indestructible in the universe. What do you think this process is doing for humans or any life forms? It's trying to make you indestructible. It is trying to make you so that you can go through this, continue on, live longer. What's it trying to make you do? Last. And then you start making things that start to last in the universe. Well, that's interesting. Very uncanny. Now you're paralleling with it. And it will know. That would be interesting. And if you have the same tools as this, these ones happen internally. Yours are external, which you can put internal. Can you strengthen the life form that you are? Yes. Well, that's interesting. Would you say that that is success? Or would you say that that would be failure? To make a structure that's on a balanced system, self-fulfilling prophecy, interesting, and life forms that are on self-fulfilling prophecy, which then makes you look at cloning. Cloning is an interesting thing. Young clone grows up. How far will that happen? That's a self-fulfilling prophecy in itself. A self-fulfilling prophecy in life. While living in a self-fulfilling prophecy of a structure that supports life. I mean, It's interesting. Do you have to create the environment before you create these processes? Yes. Ain't no good all doing it on rare stuff. Accumulate abundance and overdose in abundance. Yeah. It's no good having rare stuff that's this small and your species is this big. Doesn't work. But if you take abundance to this level and your species is only here, you have a hell of a platform. Now, do you think that you could start sustaining longer life? Do you think cloning would be unlocked? Your last vessel dies off, but it's okay, your new one grows into this. So you would have to create the habitat before you can succeed as life forms. Where have I recognized this pattern before? Well, something seems to create the universe, right? This pattern is very strange, right? What came first, the chicken or the egg? The universe. Wait, what? The universe came first. And it's a trick question. Neither the egg nor the chicken, because it evolved. So, evolution? Right you are, Harry. In the prophecy, the cycle. From one to the other, you have the middle ground, the middle, and then there's a middle here which joins back over to here. So I'd have to draw this into a circle anyway. I don't have to do it into a circle. This structure came first. Interesting. Or did this structure come first? Now that's interesting. And is this structure this structure? After making that, it seems to get bored very easy, doesn't it? What would it make next? What's the next thing? Well, if it's made this structure enhances life forms, what comes next? And eternal life forms. What's it planning? That would be an interesting thing. That's a better question than why we're here. What are you up to? What is your outcome? You've seen something. But we learned to read into other things more than we did to this. That's fascinating. What do you think it's up to? What do you think it's trying to achieve? Why the need for so many? How many cycles before it gets to where it needs to be? Interesting. Very interesting. Anyway, I'm going to leave this one here because this one is just me clearing out some clutter. And I am actually distracting myself from a lot of other things. So that's an interesting process. Oh, very enjoyable. Yeah, this pattern is everywhere. Some people call it the M, do they? I don't know if it is the M. It seems to be like a heart rhythm. A breathing in and out. That then goes on to breathe and create another ripple, which then creates another ripple per generation, and creates another ripple per generation, and another ripple, and then all of a sudden it got stopped. Because we're stopping it. And therefore it must have known that. That's why life is temporary. That's why it will not give eternal life to things that act this way. There's no point. That could ruin it. Wow, it's got such the upper hand, hasn't it? Anything higher? Yes. Yes, absolutely. But before we look at that, let's look at this. Let's have a little go with this. Anyway, it is what it is. It isn't what it isn't. It's up to you what you think. Clearly. Yeah, hell of a hunch, though. Imagine trying to prove that theory. Or disprove it. Well, because of this, because of it. Wow. Anyway, gonna leave it there for now, and I may not dive into this more or not. Alignment. Beautiful.